CM Punk speaks for the first time after making his return at Survivor Series this past weekend. He cut a promo tonight on Monday Night Raw in Nashville talking about his reasons for returning to WWE, saying he's home and he's changed. However, Seth Rollins earlier on in the evening has called him a hypocrite. What's next for Punk? We've got all of the details. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. And let's talk about CM Punk, who has just appeared on Monday Night Raw for the first time in nearly a decade, live tonight from Nashville, Tennessee. His first appearance since making his shocking return this past weekend at Survivor Series War Games in his hometown of Chicago, Illinois. And actually this evening, many people were wondering, what was Punk going to say? Was he going to talk about AEW? Was he going to talk about Tony Khan, the Young Bucks? Was he going to talk about Seth Rollins? Was he going to talk about Triple H, Vince McMahon, his reasons for walking out on WWE nearly a decade ago in 2014? But in reality, he didn't really address many of those issues. He did say that he was home and that he is a changed man. Now, CM Punk officially made his return to WWE Raw tonight after almost 10 years away from the company. Punk showed up for Raw's closing segment, delivering a heartfelt promo that declared one major way in which Punk had changed since his last run in the company. He said, quote, "Looks like hell froze over," Punk began. The former AEW World Champion then referenced his Chicago Blackhawks fandom, telling the crowd that he had to stay true to himself. Quotes, "Lately, I've been feeling a little bit more like myself. Ever since Saturday, which was a career highlight for me, I've been trying to come up with the words and the language to explain to all of you exactly how I feel. And I've come to two words, and I'm afraid to say them honestly. And it's not because they're not true, it's because I'm a little bit scared to say how true they are. And it's a little bit corny, and it's a little bit cheesy, and it's not going to sound like CM Punk, but I've changed. And once upon a time, an American dream taught me that as long as you speak from the heart, you cannot go wrong, because it's the truth. And this is the truth. I'm home." Now, this then led to chants of welcome back and welcome home from the WWE Universe in Nashville. Now, the promo did have, I guess, some shades of CM Punk's first AEW promo, when he spoke about his love for the fans and for the industry as a whole. Punk also shared something that a certain, quote, wise man once told him, which one would have to assume was Paul Heyman, the wise man for Roman Reigns in the Bloodline, a former manager of CM Punk in WWE and an invisible hand, if you will, during their time in OVW together. He also then told him, as I mentioned, that the wise man once told him that he would have to leave the WWE and come back one day to fully appreciate things. The WWE superstar also assured fans that his wife, former WWE superstar AJ Lee, sends her regards as well, and she's doing great. Now, he also then briefly spoke about and referenced the reports that some were unhappy with CM Punk's return. He had referenced the reports that Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre were visibly unhappy with Punk's presence, likely maybe setting up a storyline with Punk. We'll circle back to Seth Rollins in just a second. But he assured fans that he is in fact the best in the world and that he is back in WWE. And he also reassured that everyone was happy to see him back, and he was greeted by welcome back comments and hugs and even kisses on the lips by some of his new co-workers. But what were the final words said by Punk on air tonight? Well, it wasn't on the microphone, but it was to the camera. He said, quote, "I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to make money," end quote. Now, Punk's return was successfully kept secret heading into WWE Survivor Series War Games on Saturday. Ever since Punk was fired from AEW in September, speculation has really run rampant, hasn't it, about a possible WWE return, especially with Vince McMahon reportedly out of the creative picture. However, WWE Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque stated in the post-Survivor Series press conference that talks actually began with CM Punk quite late, with the former AEW star only putting pen to paper on Saturday morning, hours before his debut, officially signing his WWE contract. After years of a rocky relationship, things between Punk and WWE finally disintegrated in early 2014, resulting in Punk walking out of the company and eventually being fired. An appearance on Colt Cabana's podcast, The Art of Wrestling, eventually led to a lawsuit involving Punk, Cabana, and WWE. Punk made his return to professional wrestling by joining AEW in 2021, with a run lasting 2 years before he was let go following an alleged backstage physical confrontation at AEW All In involving himself and Jack Perry, during which AEW President Tony Khan said that he was in fear for his life. Punk reportedly spoke to Levesque on the phone at length earlier this month, ensuring that the two sides were able to come to terms on a multi-year contract for the controversial star. Now, as I mentioned, there were references to Punk earlier on in the evening, with Seth Rollins maybe taking a shot at the former WWE champion. After making news for his spicy reaction to the debut of CM Punk in front of the live Chicago crowd, Seth Rollins addressed the fans on Raw. Now, obviously, as I mentioned, actually, on the show, footage went viral of Rollins screaming at Punk at ringside. This was actually off the air, and as mentioned, was all over social media. It was reported later to be an angle in the possibility to lead to a storyline between the two, because, of course, Rollins was not blindsided by Punk's return, as everyone knew in the War Games match that Punk would be coming out after, because prior to the match, they were all reportedly told that Punk was making his return. Now, when Rollins arrived to the ring on Raw tonight, at first the crowd sang his song until most began chanting CM Punk at him. Rollins responded by telling the crowd to get it out of their system because he wasn't going to, quote, spend one more ounce of energy on that hypocrite. He said that rather than talking about someone who, quote, doesn't matter at all, why not talk about the title that Rollins has built into the most important in the industry? The fans quickly then followed Rollins' advice by returning to singing his theme song, as Rollins reported that only 2 days out of War Games, he wasn't feeling great, but he was getting the itch to be a fighting champion. However, answering that comment was none other than Drew McIntyre. McIntyre noted that he's realized in the past 48 hours that he needs to put his vendetta against Jey Uso on the back burner and refocus on Rollins' World Heavyweight title. Rollins then told McIntyre that while he does believe McIntyre deserves a rematch, he won't be next in line. Rollins revealed that he'll be defending the World Heavyweight Championship in a match next week against main event Jey Uso on Raw. When Rollins leaned over to tell Drew it's not personal, McIntyre headbutted the champion and seemingly the World Heavyweight title, which began a cut, and actually some blood started to trickle down from his forehead. Also, at some point, his kilt actually ripped off, and he finished the segment in briefs without even missing a beat. In the end, Jey Uso ran out to help Seth Rollins, and after one super kick wasn't enough to keep McIntyre down, Seth Rollins lent a foot as they delivered super kicks together and sent McIntyre out the ring. Of course, as I mentioned, that match will take place next week. But what did you make of the comments made by Rollins calling CM Punk a hypocrite? Where do you think this one's going, and when do you think we'll eventually get CM Punk versus Rollins? Do you think that's at WrestleMania, or could we get that a little bit more ahead of time as well? And what did you think of CM Punk's promo as well? Do you think it was good? Do you think it was a letdown? Was it a nothing burger? Where do you think they're going with that as well? Now, finally, just a couple more details on CM Punk before we wrap things up. As I mentioned earlier on today, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful reported that many WWE talent do expect to speak with higher-ups to gain some assurances about CM Punk and how he will be in the company moving forward. WWE actually, and we saw this throughout the show tonight, ended up using renders from CM Punk's last run in the company and actually used the same Titantron video from that era at War Games this past weekend. A new Titantron was used today at Monday Night Raw, and it would be expected that new renders and new profile pictures of Punk were probably taken at the event and will be used moving forward. Some had questioned that we saw on Peacock this new playlist of Punk content that was added, and some people actually said, well, that's another indication that this was always planned and people knew. Fightful are reporting they were told that actually that takes relatively zero time to put together. There were some guidelines given how to address Punk chants for SmackDown and Survivor Series over the weekend, which was largely to ignore them as best as possible, which again wouldn't have been an indicator that anything was going to happen, because that's always been the guideline for CM Punk on WWE programming. Now, it had been reported over the weekend, and Fightful are confirming this, that there was legitimately a real offer put together for CM Punk by Impact/TNA Wrestling. It was a story that was first broken by Ibo of Wrestle Purists. Fightful spoke to several associated with the company over the weekend that said that CM Punk was well liked during his visits there, and the door does remain open to Punk in the future. Now, there had actually been some friends of Punk that thought that going to TNA was a real possibility, but that was before the talks with Triple H started. Those close to him fully believed that he would wrestle again, and when it looked like the door wasn't open for a return to WWE, it seemed like an option to go to TNA if indeed Punk wanted it. But of course, once the talks happened with WWE, they realized they wouldn't be able to compete when it came to anything in terms of finances or anything like that. But that is the latest when it comes to CM Punk. That was the promo that he cut on Raw this evening. What are your thoughts on CM Punk's promo? What are your thoughts on him saying that he's back in WWE, back home where he belongs? What are your thoughts on him saying that he has changed as well? Do you believe CM Punk to be a changed man? Did you like his promo? Didn't you like it? And who do you think Rollins, who do you think CM Punk rather feuds with first? Is it going to be Seth Rollins? Is it going to be someone else? Did it feel like a situation where maybe creatively WWE hadn't figured out what to do with CM Punk just yet because he was signed so recently and so quickly? Let me know your thoughts about all of it in the comment section below. Be sure to smash a like and the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.